Welcome to the Initial Use Important Information video for all science units in pre-K through 5th grade. During this video, we will review some important aspects and helpful resources for teaching all of the pre-K through 5th grade science units in the Seattle Public Schools. Every pre-K through 5th grade classroom will receive 3 science kits throughout the year, one in the fall, one in the winter, and one in the spring. These kits are delivered and picked up at your school. You can look on the district science webpage under the Science Materials Center, SMC, for kit delivery and pickup dates at your school. On the Science Department web pages, you will also find the Seattle Public Schools science curriculum for each science unit being taught. A critical item you will find on the website is the instructional guide, also called the IG, for the science unit you will be teaching. You will want to download this for use with your kit. There are other helpful materials on the website, which we will cover later, but first let's review some important things to remember when you receive your kit. When your kit arrives, you will find consumable and non-consumable items, a pre- and post-inventory list, and the teacher's guide, which we refer to as the teacher's manual. While the teacher's manual is included in the kit, we recommend you teach first from the instructional guide, the IG, that you have downloaded and refer to the manual when noted. The teacher's manual also has important science content background knowledge for teachers that you should familiarize yourself with before teaching the unit. The IG contains changes from the teacher's manual, modifications to address science standards, as well as connections made to other content areas. At the beginning of the IG, you will find helpful items such as the scientific terms. Words that are bolded are specific to the unit, a summary of focus questions and key words, and a summary of lesson concepts or the scientific principles you will be teaching throughout the unit. The IG is written by Seattle Public Schools science curriculum specialists and is updated regularly, so make sure to download the current version before teaching the unit. At the front of the IG is a revision history that lists changes that have been made from the previous version. Now back to the kit. In the kit, you will find a pre- and post-inventory sheet. When you receive your kit, count the items and write the number of items you have. Don't just check the items off. For some smaller items like paper clips, instead of individually counting them, you can just estimate the number and check them off. This is a great job to ask volunteers to do for you. Do this pre-inventory a couple of days before so you can call or email the Science Materials Center if something is missing or broken. Doing a post-inventory is required and necessary to be sure all non-consumable items are returned. Again, this is a great job for a volunteer. The Science Materials Center uses the inventory sheets to refurbish the kits for the next classroom. If an item is broken, be sure to mention that so the item can be replaced in the kit. If something major is missing, you'll be called to see if you can find it, and if not, your school may be charged. And remember, you can return any extra consumable items too. While the kit contains many of the supplies for the lessons, there will be some materials you may need to purchase or bring from home. You will find in the IG a list with what is needed for the unit. Your classroom, school, or PTA budget should be able to reimburse you for these few items. Now let's look at the resources you will find on the website. On the website, you will find important documents that are used across all the pre-K through 5th grade science units. They include the Seattle Public Schools Science Learning Cycle, tips for science notebooks, special ed science strategies, ELL science strategies, science notebook student checklists, strategies for meaningful science student discourse, and planning a controlled investigation or fair test template. You will also find resources specific to each science unit. In addition to the instructional guide, which we mentioned earlier, you will find a pacing guide, a science writing guide, and a family letter written in multiple languages to send home with your students. The pacing guide will help you determine the amount of time needed to complete the entire unit. We recommend teaching science for at least 3 sessions per week in order to maintain consistency and to keep your students engaged. Some teachers do this by rotating a science unit with a social studies unit. You may pause the video now and take a moment to look at the pacing guide for the first science unit you will be teaching. For each science unit, there is also a family letter that includes an engagement activity students can do at home. This letter should be sent out at the beginning of the unit. Also included in the letter are a number of additional strategies and resources for families related to science. The family letter is available to download in English, Somali, Vietnamese, and Spanish. Now let's review a few practicalities. Content books for the unit are available in your school library. Please ask your librarian where the science kit books are located. For the blank science notebook your students will be using, you can purchase spiral notebooks at the beginning of the year for each student. You can also make your own notebooks using grade level appropriate paper from your school. For kindergarten through second grade, you can use a piece of construction paper to serve as front and back and staple down the side. We ask students to use a table of contents in their notebooks as real scientists do. It can look something like this. Students will also need to number each page. For each lesson, have students date the page and write or place the focus question in their notebook. To do this, you can copy the focus questions for students to glue in, or it can be printed on address labels for students to stick in. When the focus question is introduced, varies from lesson to lesson. Be sure to check the IG for the recommended time to introduce and review the focus question. When you do introduce it, read it with your students. Finally, some lessons may require integrating math. It is helpful to teach students about these math concepts either before or during the unit. For instance, some lessons will require students to compare numbers using the less than, greater than, or equal symbols. We also recommend you teach students about data tables, bar graphs, and line plots. Also available on the science webpage are upcoming professional development opportunities and information about how to register. This concludes the initial use important information video for pre-K through 5th grade science in Seattle Public Schools. If you have any questions about your kit, please contact the Science Materials Center at 206-764-4040 or email the Science Materials Center at smc@seattleschools.org. If you have any questions about curriculum, please contact the Science Curriculum Specialist. And remember, you can re-watch this video and any lesson online at any time.